Okay, well, thank you, Richard and Lori. It's an honor to be able to tell a few stories about my late wife, Carolyn Dobbs, and her relationship with the national parks in Washington and with the Washington National Park Fund. Carolyn came to Washington State in 1966 to attend the University of Washington urban planning program, fell in love with the mountains, joined the Mountaineers, spent every available weekend learning how to climb and hike, mostly in the Olympics and North Cascades at that time. In 1971, she was honored with getting one of the faculty positions at the Evergreen State College, the first year of the college. Several of those first years she taught with legendary outdoor educator and mountain climber Willie Unsold. Every year they taught together, and even individually, they would start the year by taking students the first week, the second week of the term in the fall, up to Mount Rainier to camp, have some outdoor experiences, and be of service to the park, whether that was trail maintenance or meadow restoration, whatever was useful to the park different years. That led to an ongoing love of Mount Rainier, and Carolyn did a lot of different things to sort of express that love and try to give back to the park what she was gaining. In the 80s, she started volunteering in the greenhouse outside of Mount Rainier Park, getting the starts ready for replanting in the spring. She helped negotiate an interagency agreement between Mount Rainier National Park and Evergreen State College to support a few students every summer to be able to work with the science research teams in the park during the summer internships. Those continue. They're endowed now. They continue at Evergreen in a relationship with the national park. In 2003, she kind of talked herself into being invited to join one of the research teams as a seasonal ranger. At 60 years old, she was out there with the other young, excited next generation, identifying and locating native species plants in some of the remote meadows in the park. So she actually worked for the Park Service for a summer, and it was a summer that she loved for the rest of her life. She joined the National Park Board, as Richard mentioned. I was a member for many, many years, and up until actually a few months before she died from brain cancer. She went through treatments for 3 years, attended board meetings pretty much every month or every season during her treatments. And in one of the last meetings of the board in 2013, the chair of the board had surprised Carolyn by suggesting, and the board approved, that an annual science grant that the fund was giving to the parks be in her name, in her honor. That over the years then changed a little bit to become a grant for interns to work with scientists in the park, which was similar to what was already being sponsored through Evergreen. And then Lori, a few years ago, had a great suggestion that we ask the superintendents to nominate a scientist doing important science work in each of the 3 major parks to be honored with a special little award, a financial award from the fund in Carolyn's name. And our family trust and the board fund that opportunity every year. So it's really an honor to now learn a little bit more about the work that the scientists are doing in the park. And it's interesting that this is being celebrated on September 30th. Yesterday would have been Carolyn's 79th birthday. And for over 40 of those 79 years, our family celebrates by getting together for a weekend at Mount Rainier. And we did it again this weekend. And even though we couldn't stay at the inn or the campground, we're staying very close, just outside the park, and doing our hikes. Again, we've done that every year for 40 some years. My children just look forward to this, and grandchildren. And we do it to celebrate Carolyn's birthday and her introducing all of us to the beauty and wonderment of the national parks. I'm looking forward to learning more about these scientists and their work. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chip Jenkins. I'm the superintendent of Mount Rainier National Park, and I'm pleased to announce Paul Kennard, the winner of the 2020 Carolyn Dobbs Research Award for Mount Rainier National Park. Since 2002, Paul has worked as the geomorphologist at Mount Rainier, as well as supporting many parks around the country. He's been especially instrumental at standing up and growing Mount Rainier's geology program, mentoring geologists, geologic technicians, geologists in parks, interns, university students, and park staff all along the way. Paul envisioned and built the foundation for the park's Imminent Threats program, which uses science to inform sustainable, preemptive, and inexpensive remedies to threats to the park's facilities and infrastructure from the geological processes and very dynamic landscape that is Mount Rainier. Paul has a wealth of knowledge of glacial and geologic functions, and he works hard to share that information with the scientific community at large, as well as students, park managers, park staff, and all those tasked with making critical decisions about access to Mount Rainier. Paul, we really appreciate all of the work that you have done, particularly what you have done in terms of helping to coach, mentor, and teach the rest of us. Congratulations, it's this well-earned award.
Hello, I'm Paul Kennard, and I recently retired as a geomorphologist from the Pacific West region of the National Park Service. I was stationed at Mount Rainier National Park for my entire park career. I'm deeply honored to receive the Carolyn Dobbs Environmental Grant, and I'm especially grateful to the Washington's National Park Fund and Mount Rainier National Park for the honor. Geomorphology has been described as fast geology, and unfortunately, with climate change and melting glaciers, things have been happening quickly at Mount Rainier and in the Pacific Northwest. Floods have been getting bigger, more frequent, and much more destructive. Additionally, landslides such as debris flows have been on the increase. My job is to help Mount Rainier and other region parks with these flooding and geohazard problems. I help protect park buildings and roads, and to maintain public access and safety while the flooding increased. Initially, when I started at the park, I did applied research using an army of interns. And this was to develop new, low-cost, resource-friendly approaches to reduce flood damage. This ultimately turned into the Imminent Threats Flood Protection Program. Fortunately, Mount Rainier was very open to these new leading-edge strategies. And when I retired, the park made sure the program continued under the able guidance of park geologist Scott Beeson. So thanks again to the Washington's National Park Fund and to Mount Rainier National Park. And more importantly, thank you to all the people that support them. Thank you very much. I'm deeply honored.
I am incredibly proud to be able to give the Carolyn Dobbs Award, present it to Carrie Cook, who is an engineer at Olympic National Park. And I believe that Carrie is just exactly the kind of person that Carolyn Dobbs would have liked to have hung out with. Carrie is a creative engineer and scientist who did her graduate work on the Elwha, studying the fungi and its association with the restoration of the Elwha River. She's worked with us since 2014 and has contributed greatly to designing very creative solutions to some of our trickier wastewater problems. One of them being just recently this summer up at Hurricane Ridge, and also out at Barnes Point, where we have these aging water treatment facilities. And she came up with really creative ways to protect Lake Crescent and the Elwha watershed. So I'm really honored. She's an amazing person, and I'd like to be the first to congratulate her on receiving the Carolyn Dobbs Award.
Hi, I'm Carrie Cook, and I'm an environmental engineer in Olympic National Park's Facility Management Division. Most of my work involves rehabilitating water and wastewater treatment facilities throughout developed areas in the park, as this critical but aging and sometimes failing infrastructure reaches the end of its design life. It's a really unique honor to be recognized with an Environmental Science and Research Award for my work as an engineer. A lot of people don't think of it this way, but properly sizing and optimizing these treatment processes is one of the most important things that we can do to minimize our impact on the environment and protect the resources. For example, we're currently planning how best to improve nutrient removal from our wastewater facilities around Lake Crescent. Nitrogen in particular is directly linked to increased algal growth, which negatively impacts the spawning habitat of Lake Crescent's endemic Beardsley trout. So by analyzing our waste stream and pairing our treatment technology to target those constituents of concern, we're able to accommodate the increases in visitation that all of our parks have seen over the past few years, while protecting the water quality that makes Lake Crescent so exceptional. The fact that someone like me approaching these challenges from the facilities side of the equation can be recognized by park leadership for contributing to the protection of our natural resources really speaks to the holistic and collaborative approach shared by all of the staff that I work with here at the park. Managing these special places responsibly is truly a team effort, and I'm incredibly lucky to have benefited from all of the mentorship that I've received during my initial years, both growing up in and then working at North Cascades National Park. And for the past 3.5 years now, I've had the privilege of working with a highly effective, functional, and diverse team of professionals here at Olympic National Park. And I couldn't ask for a more challenging, rewarding job than what I'm doing now. And for that, I am so grateful. So thank you. This is a true honor.
Hi, everyone. My name is Karen Taylor Goodrich. I'm the superintendent at North Cascades National Park Service Complex. And I'm here with you. It's my pleasure to introduce two outstanding North Cascades employees and they're being so honored with the Carolyn Dobbs Awards. And the first one I'd like to talk about is Sheryl Decker. And Sheryl is the North Coast and Cascades Network Invasive Species Coordinator. And this is they call it formally the Invasive Plant Management Team. It's a small group of National Park Service employees that serve multiple parks based out of North Cascades, but serve multiple parks in the Pacific Northwest. And I'm going to read a little bit from the nomination because it was such a nice description of what Sheryl has done for our network and for the National Park Service and the protection of our resources. She's really been helpful at North Cascades in tackling these very difficult weed issues at Ross Lake and then also in Stehekin. Both of those areas have tenacious weeds and difficult logistics just to manage a program like that. She's also very devoted to increasing the health of our park ecosystems through her work and leadership. And we're very grateful. And I know all the other parks that have the benefit of Sheryl's talent and her team's talent really appreciate that. And I know Sheryl will be pleased to share this with her team as well. So the next person I'd like to talk about is one of our park wildlife biologists. His name is Roger Christopherson. And he has devoted the last 3+ decades or so to furthering the understanding and protection of wildlife resources at North Cascades. And he has done so much. If there's been a study done in the park on wildlife, Roger has covered it all. He's done inventories on spotted owls and pikas, marmots, harlequin ducks, bats, peregrine falcons, mountain goats, bald eagles, fisher, osprey. He has been in the middle of all of those efforts, and his backcountry skills, because as you probably all know, if you have not been in North Cascades, it's a very rugged environment. But Roger is well known for his backcountry skills and his rapid ascents up steep slopes, as well as his gentle spirit. And he's a very friendly and welcoming man to visitors, staff, and peers, and people just love working with him. And we just very much appreciate his devotion to the wildlife at North Cascades. So again, it's my pleasure to have two outstanding employees nominated this year and receiving the Carolyn Dobbs Awards. And thank you very much, Washington's National Park Fund, for honoring our National Park Service professionals.
Hi, I'm Sheryl Decker with the North Coast and Cascades Invasive Plant Management Team. We assist Washington's national parks as well as Lewis and Clark in Oregon with invasive plant issues. A big issue in North Cascades is reed canary grass, a very aggressive plant that thrives in partially submerged habitats and outcompetes native vegetation. The photo you just saw shows a crew member establishing a photo point in the Big Beaver wetland, an important wetland in North Cascades, where reed canary grass has moved 5 miles upstream from Ross Lake, where reed canary grass has established. We're currently working with researchers from Washington State University on a submersion survivability study, which will help with finding and treating populations. Thanks to Karen and Jack for nominating me for this award. I plan to distribute it among my crew leads since they're the ones doing the real work. Thank you.